Hello everybody and welcome to the DenziBlitz. I'm your host Mike, and today is part 2 of our 10-part look at Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. This obviously is not from Zyuranger. This is from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but in another world, in another time, this would be the Ranger Stick from Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger, or the Ranger Sword, or the Ranger Gun, or depending on what mode it was in. But today, we're on part 2 of our retrospective, so to speak, of the 1992 installment in the Super Sentai series. Of course, want to encourage you to go grab this yourself if it sounds interesting. If you're a fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, this is the show that started it and inspired it. If you wondered where the Dinozords come from, where the Power Blaster, the Power Morphers, the Blade Blaster, any of that stuff comes from, this is it, the 1992 installment of the Super Sentai series that started way back in 1975, that franchise. This, of course, is the US DVD release of Zyuranger from Shout Factory. We very much encourage you to go pick this up. Amazon, Target, Walmart, you'll find this all kinds of places. It's been around for a couple of years now. Right now, very affordable, $40, number of places, 10 DVD set. It's the entire run of Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger right there for you. And we're going through it disc by disc. So last week we looked at disc 1, episodes 1 through 5. This week we're looking at episodes 6 through 10. And the reason I'm dragging this back down is just because the episode list is on the inside of the jacket, and it'll help me out a little bit here. This one we see, the episodes we're going through: Arise Daijujin, I Can See, Terror, Eaten in an Instant, Run, Prince of the Eggs, and Monkeys No More. So a trend that we're seeing through these episodes, and it's something that I never really paid attention to. Now, of course, like I said in the previous episode, we don't really go through the plot overly much here on DenziBlitz. We're going through things kind of quick-like. So it's more impressions and things of that nature. And this week we're going to start taking a look sort of at the Rangers themselves and the dynamic and how they differ a little bit from MMPR. I mean, that's one thing that, because this was turned into Mighty Morphin Season 1, it was adapted into that series, we're going to talk about the compare and contrast a good bit throughout the Blitz. So looking at these 5 episodes, a few things to sort of hit on quickly. One, as we said last time, we didn't get to see this guy, who you can only partially see in the shot, Daijujin, or the Megazord from MMPR Season 1. We didn't get to see this guy in the first disc, in episodes 1 through 5. But he shows up in episode 6. I thought the only thing we were going to see was the Dino Tanker, the Megazord in vehicle or tank mode. But no, we get the whole Megillah. We get Daijujin. And the first time we see Daijujin, it's to give us a sense of scale. That's something that this show's doing fairly well throughout with their giant mecha and such. We'll hit the visuals real quick first. A lot more of the same. The villain costumes on rewatch, knowing that I haven't watched MMPR in probably 15 years. I haven't watched Zyuranger in almost 2. And even then, I didn't watch all of it. I think I got to about the point where Barai shows up. Spoilers, we'll get to him later. But going through this and watching the show again, it amazes me how consistent the visuals look. They have a theme, and they're sticking with it. It's a very fanciful theme, very fantasy-based. Lots of magic and such. I'm going to remember a few more names this go-round, too. Barza, our wizard, our Zordon. When he's in his wizard garb, he kind of fits in with everyone else. And he's about the only one that tries to bother to disguise himself. He looks like a gardener if he's in the regular world, but if he's acting as the mentor to the Rangers, then he is the wizard, Barza. So visually, very cool and continuing that fanciful aesthetic. We have a couple episodes where we get to meet some royalty from another dimension, which involves a plot where their people were tempted by this monster, the cockatrice, into eating a forbidden fruit. It's very much a Garden of Eden story. And so when they ate the forbidden fruit in order to gain access back to their homeland, they are given these eggs by the guardian beasts. That's something else we figure out in these episodes. The guardian beasts are kind of jerks sometimes, but they're given these eggs by the guardian beasts and told, if you protect them, then we will restore you to your homeland. If you do not protect these eggs until the Zyurangers appear, then shame on you and you get nothing, basically. And you'll be monkeys for the rest of your lives. But when we meet those characters, they fit in with the fantasy aesthetic that the show is building. So that's really pretty cool. Looking at one of the things that I sidetracked myself on very quickly, which I tend to do sometimes, the structure of the show, which is something I never paid attention to be perfectly honest with you, when I first started watching it. Super Sentai these days tend to be one and done episodes. You'll have an episode and it's over and done with, period. Okay? Whereas Kamen Rider, Super Sentai's counterpart, tends to have a multi-part structure where it's usually two-parters, sometimes three-parters, with the occasional one-shot sprinkled in. Zyuranger, thus far, has pretty much been strictly two-parters. We've seen 5 two-part stories through episodes 1 through 10. Not really any one-and-dones. We do see the trend of Super Sentai, more so then than now, or I should say less thinly veiled then than now, have the moral of the story each step of the way. Some of the morals probably wouldn't fly today that they're telling, too, because, for instance, one of the morals in an episode with Circe is what the translation says. That's not the way they pronounce it, but Dora Circe. What we got in the United States as the MMPR monster, the Pudgy Pig. The moral of the episode essentially is it's not bad to be fat or obese, as the case may be. As someone who is not exactly thin, so I consider myself to be obese. I'm working on it. There's this thing in the story where we see this Japanese kid who's obese, overweight. His parents are overweight. And when the Rangers come to deal with him and try to help him, and ask, well, why are you overweight? Does this not bother you? And his response is, no, my parents tell me that being fat is a sign of happiness. That I don't know that moral would work today. It's a self-esteem story being told, one which I appreciate. But kids getting teased because they're overweight in the show, trying to show, no, you're still you, you're still a person, you have emotions and so on, and it's not wrong to be overweight. I thought that was a very interesting moral for them to tell. Like I said, I don't think it would fly today with our 21st century mentality and gearing toward fitness and healthy and all things and so on. But I thought it was an interesting thing for them to throw out there. Our characters, we start to see some development out of them. We start to get more than just Red as the badass leader, although that is basically the moral of the episodes 5 and 6. That's our story. Daijujin, first time we see him with that sense of scale that the show is doing really good at portraying. Usually with the typical standbys of forced perspective shots, of shooting over the monster's shoulder, down at the Rangers who are way the hell away and probably lower to the ground, but through this it looks like they're standing right in front of me and they're tiny. We get mostly that, But we also have this really incredible shot the first time we see DenziBlitz, which is in an episode. It's the second part with the Sphinx. And the Sphinx is basically blowing all of these people into trees, including 4 of the 5 Rangers, not counting Geki, our Red Ranger, Tyranno Ranger, for the purposes of the show. And he's the only one left. Instead of getting blown into a tree, Guardian Beast Tyrannosaurus pulls him into another dimension and basically shows him, this is what will happen if you keep screwing up. You're not being a leader. You're not bringing your team together. You're not pulling everyone together. Do it or else. Like I said, they're being the Guardian Beasts are kind of jerks from time to time, and these are the fighting machines and nothing more from Power Rangers. Yet here they are almost taking on the role of mentor at times, and they are sentient beings. They are deities. They are gods to these tribal people. So, but they take him into another dimension, show him basically Tokyo destroyed, and saying, no, this is the entire world. Showing him the dead bodies of his comrades, decomposed with time, so that there's nothing left but the rags of their clothes, the dino bucklers, the morphers for the show, and their bones, and that's it. Showing him a wrecked Tokyo Tower and rubble. So it's very harsh in places like that, not shying away from the, hey, bad things happen if you screw up when you're the heroes, and getting that lesson across to him. But that first image of DenziBlitz whole as one cohesive robot, all 5 Guardian Beasts together, we see it buried. It is laid in the ground, buried with dust and debris from age, covered in dirt, and parts of it sticking up, and Geki is standing on top of it and doesn't realize it until almost the end. Till almost where the Guardian Beast sent him home. And it gives you that sense of scale, that this thing is huge compared to an ordinary-sized human being. So I really like that. The visuals are doing a really good job. The stories are continuing to be interesting. They are character building. Like I said, that's the trend for the first several episodes of any Super Sentai and indeed any Toku series, for the most part. Geki's the badass red leader. Check. We've got that taken care of now. We get a little bit of spotlight on Dan. He is the youngest member. Now, Dan is Tricera Ranger. That would be, I don't have the, where it, Tricera Ranger, blue. So this was Billy's counterpart, if from MMPR, the Blue Ranger. And Billy is the brains of the outfit in MMPR. He is the nerd, the awkward one, the dweeb, the introvert. Here, Dan is the extrovert. He is the youngest. He is the most inexperienced. He is the hyperactive one. He is the rash one. He is basically Billy's polar opposite. The only thing he's not is the good-looking superstar. That's Geki. So he is basically the counterpoint to every trope Billy has, which is pretty dang interesting. We see that in a couple of places with characters. A lot of the character tropes that we would assign to Billy, the introspective, intelligent, tactician, reserved, we would assign here to Ghosh, Mammoth Ranger, black, without the awkwardness. He is, in many ways, truly the knight of the team, even though 3 of them are referred to as tribal knights. The other spotlight here, other than Dan, is Boy, the Tiger Ranger. That would be yellow. There you go. Tiger Ranger. Now, in something that is a trend for Power Rangers, Power Power Rangers, for many, many years, always wanted to have 2 females on each team, period. Even if the Sentai equivalent didn't have 2 females. Zyuranger didn't. Zyuranger had 1 female, the Pink Ranger, Terra Ranger, so that's May. All the rest are guys. Boy, pretty spot on if you think about it, is the Yellow Ranger here. Whereas Trini and later Aisha are the Yellow Rangers for Mighty Morphin, and we'll draw comparisons to Trini because it's Season 1 to Season 1 here. Boy and Trini are very similar in character archetype. They are both fierce warriors. They both have this certain never say die, I'll not be defeated type attitude to them. They ascribe a proud tradition in Super Sentai that the Yellows love to eat. They do ascribe that trend to Boy in this, with another encounter of the fanciful, of the whimsy. They meet one of Barza's allies, a guardian of the forest, a gnome, who has this incredibly hot root vegetable, the mole, that they can give to Dora Cersei, Pudgy Pig, in order to make him throw up everything, including the legendary weapons, which he ate. See Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So the only difference is here they refer to it as the mole, or mole, as opposed to claiming that it's some sort of weird hot pepper when it's very obviously a root vegetable visually. But they ascribe that trait to Boy, but again, the fierce warrior, which is very much Trini's role on the team. She is the fierce warrior, the tactician, or a tactical warrior in many ways. That's probably a little bit of gauche as opposed to Boy being sidetracked into her character. And being the only one that can understand Billy, with Trini is, the one who can translate technobabble. Again, that's probably a little bit of Gauche's personality being imposed onto Trini. But the aspect of being the truly fierce fighter, that translated over pretty much identically. So those 2 characters get some spotlight here, and very cool that they do. The music is the music is the music. In the episode, it's usually good. Cue the opening theme, and I try to claw my ears out. It doesn't work out that well. The ending theme I typically skip. God bless Shout Factory for putting the chapter skips right at the end of the opening credits, and you can skip through the closing credits. Bless you. Not enough companies do that. If you hit skip on the opening credits, you wind up halfway through the first 5-10 minutes of the show for a lot of them. So thanks Shout Factory for that one. These 5 episodes, a little more of the same, a little more of the character building, the exposition, the seeing new toys and such. One last thing that we see in these episodes, I'll touch on quickly and then we'll wrap it up. Bandora, Queen Bandora. In these 10 episodes, I think she's been on Earth more in 10 episodes than Rita Repulsa was in 60 of MMPR. She is very hands-on, not that she's an active participant in the fight, but she's there. She's there on Earth getting things set up. So a much different character, even though we see the bulk of her scenes in Power Rangers. So it's sort of a testament to how you can cut out just a little bit here and there and really change the way a character comes off. Rita in MMPR was stuck in the castle, gave the orders, and in many ways was the inept leader. In this show, she is there, shouting orders from the battlefield itself. We see that. So, very different character. And again, with Bookback, that would be, I think, Squat. Babu is Topat. But with those 2 characters, we again see that they are gleeful in their brutality. At one point, you see one of the monsters taking the souls of small children, which in this case take the form of small multicolored balls about yay big. They are cooking those souls to eat them at one point. They hate kids. Very obviously the bad guys. So, yeah, this show, which has its cat drugs moments, probably to a small child, which would have been the target audience, could have been some nightmare fuel in places. So, kids in Japan must have a higher tolerance. At least, probably did in '93. So, with all that said, these 5 episodes, like I said, more of the same, entertaining. I'm enjoying the ride so far. Now, we've got 8 episodes to go. We're on disc 2. That means that discs 3 through 10 are still to come. That means that we still have 40 episodes of Zyuranger to go through. And I might even talk about the Power Morphicon 2014 panel that's actually on here. It's a special feature called Power Progenitors, where they have a panel, I believe it is with the Tyranno Ranger Geki's actor, whose name escapes me, but I'll try and make a note of it and remember it for the next time we sit together. But he's a hell of a little actor because he's done a lot of stuff in Tokusatsu, not just this. So, again, check this out. It's from Shout Factory. They're not paying us for this, but support American Tokusatsu when it gets commercially released here in the U.S. We have fan subs of ton of it, tons and tons of it. But the bottom line is, we love getting cool stuff like this. I know you love getting cool stuff like this, and if we don't support it, we don't get it. So keep backing Shout Factory on this one. And if you feel like supporting the ECS network and helping us out, we would greatly appreciate it. You can check out our store, cafepress.com/ECS network. You can find merchandise there, t-shirts and the like, not just for DenziCaster, but you can find it for all the other great shows here on the ECS network, the Announcers Booth, Rage Quit Radio, and so on. And check us out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/DenziCaster. Jump over there, give us a like. We're going to try and make it a little more active, maybe doing some contests and things like that in the future. Who knows? Hey, one might have already happened by the time you see this. You never know. So, check us out over there, and of course, share, like, and subscribe here on the ECS network. Until next time, here on the DenziBlitz, I'm Mike, and we'll see you for more Zyuranger next time.